There, you Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining us this fine Monday for Stay Free with Russell Brand. We'll be talking about the Epstein files, the story, the scandal. The conversation rolls on because I suppose in the liminal space between what we assumed would happen with a MAGA populist Trump-led government and what has happened exist questions like this. Are there powers that transcend and supersede the power even of the executive branch of the American government in the form of the most idiosyncratic, divisive, and in some ways brilliant political leader there's been in the modern era, Donald Trump? Thanks for the raid, Timcast. If you're over here from Timcast, you're going to get a different type of conversation. For example, we got Jake, a Christian fella from Louisiana. Yeah, he likes a broil, crawfish broil. And then there's Isaac. He won't be having no shellfish. No shellfish. But I've seen him eat a bacon bagel nearly every single day that I've known him. So what does that tell you? If you're watching us on X or on YouTube or anywhere like that, make your way to Rumble. Rumble support us financially, and we want to support them with the loyalty that they showed us when I was attacked by the UK government, an attack that I believe continues to this day. But justice will prevail because God is real. That's one of the things that we'll be discussing. Oh, Lord above. That's one of the things we'll be discussing on the show, whether you're watching us on Locals or on Rumble. Like, see, this is the kind of free speech we encourage. Jonesy74, fuck RB, you're a grifter. What I will say, though, is you've not used the right version of "you're" there. There needs to be an apostrophe and an E if you're going to do that. Has Tim Pool been swatted again? Oh, man, Tim Pool, he gets swatted a lot. He gets swatted. They love to swat him. Should we jump straight into the Epstein stuff? It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, let's have a look. Let me get right to it. This is the story seems to have been reignited somewhat because of this story from Wired. They say that the clip released by Trump, by Trump's Department of Justice, was edited. A report has undercut the Department of Justice's assertion that a video it released of Epstein's final hours in prison was unedited, but Wired determined the hours of long footage released by the DOJ to quell conspiracies involving Epstein's 2019 in-custody suicide was likely modified using the professional video editing software Adobe Premiere Pro. Good system, Isaac?
It's a great system.
Did you just use it just then to cut to your own face? Why don't you cut to outside of the room where nothing's happening except a trash can moving suspiciously left and right? The file appears to have been assembled from at least 2 source clips, saved multiple times, exported and then uploaded to the Department of Justice website, the magazine wrote. That conclusion was reached by video forensics experts who studied the footage's metadata. Hani Farid, professor at the University of California at Berkeley, whose research focuses on digital forensics and misinformation. Well, misinformation is a category that's been invented in order to ensure that only the information the government wants you to have reaches you. But what's fascinating now is there's been a regime change in the United States of America, i.e. the terms misinformation and disinformation were invented during the Biden administration, were promoted by Obama directly and vociferously in order to ensure that pro-MAGA populist media could be shut down. Now, of course, we have a new question, a new challenge. What happens when your man, for the majority of our viewers here, is in government? And by that, of course, I mean the notable, notorious and marvellous Donald Trump, and you still don't get some of the things you anticipated. What questions does that bring to the forefront? Let me know what you think. If a lawyer brought me this file and asked if it was suitable for court, said this dude, I'd say, go back to the source, do it right. Do a direct export from the original system. No monkey business. Farid said his issues with the clip go beyond its metadata, however. He claims its aspect ratio shifts noticeably at multiple points. Why am I suddenly seeing a different aspect ratio, he remarked. So, let's look into that. I know a lot of you guys are super smart in the Rumble chat, so why don't you tell us, why would there be a new aspect ratio? What does that suggest? Oh, man, I tell you, I saw like an X thread that was absolutely fantastic. Isaac, I'll send it over to you, mate, and see if you can get it up. If you're watching this, I don't mean get it up in a sort of a childish way. I don't mean, although, you know, one person who can certainly get it up is Conor McGregor. Have you seen those pictures? He's lifting weights with his penis. Now, I've got to say, when I was a womanizer, I was very committed. I was dedicated perhaps a little to the point where it left me vulnerable down the line to some pretty serious challenges. And although I live in the light of the Lord and Jesus Christ observes all truth and understands the absolute reality, I never got around to lifting weights with my Winky, and perhaps that's where I went wrong. Conor McGregor's Winky is a powerful, powerful thing. Let me. I've got to send this to you. You'll love this, you guys, because this is Isaac. I've got to send it to you as a text, mate, because that's how I received it. Okay, so many people are anticipating that Ghislaine Maxwell, still on the story of the Epstein suicide, of course. We've not got time to talk about Conor McGregor's penis.
What a tease. I mean, you've talked about it.
You want to see Conor McGregor's Winky? You can see it. It's quite long, but a little crooked. And I don't antagonise Conor McGregor, certainly not on the subject of his genitalia. I'd like to take this opportunity to apologise. Who among us has a perfect penis? This is about Ghislaine Maxwell, who, let's focus on these Epstein lists. Don't direct me back to Conor McGregor's mighty cock. Did you see the one
where it was like CGI, but it was Hillary on the footage?
That's nice. No, I didn't see that. I'm busy. I don't know how you, with your children, are finding time to look at the internet.
It's pretty amazing.
I haven't got
it's just
time.
like her, like in her outfit.
I get it. I understood it when you said Hillary Clinton and AI. I understand how the joke would work. Now look at this. Let's focus on. Listen, you guys are here. Let me know in the comments and chat. What do you want to talk about? Conor McGregor's Winky Woo, or do you want to? No, some people are clapping and applauding. You tease. Do you want to talk about Conor McGregor's Winky Woo, or do you want to talk about Epstein, the Epstein list, and try and resolve it? Come on, grow up. Now, this is Ben Johnson. Ghislaine Maxwell is reportedly prepared to speak before Congress to tell her story. What do you think about that? There's a woman in jail right now. Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, is ready to reveal the truth of the paedophile client list, say insiders. So why are Republicans blocking her? With that that X thing that I sent you, Isaac, you don't need to freeze it, have it as an asset, because I want to look at the comments underneath, man. There's some amazing stuff. Well, one of the things that's good about X is that, of course, you're going to encounter wherever there's free speech, you're going to get craziness. Look at the Rumble chat, look at the locals chat, it's a bit less crazy, and look at wherever you're watching this, look at the chat, it's crazy. That's part of life. But what you will also get is some quite well-resourced material. The post I was sent was alleged to be from someone working at the institution where Epstein was being held. And he said that Epstein on that night was taken to a medical facility and that a vehicle arrived at the same facility that was not registered in the customary way. Now, obviously, anyone can make these claims if you can generate a picture where Conor McGregor's Winky and Hillary Clinton's face are put together, and I'm not suggesting the two of them have ever met or even that they would get on. I don't know whether Conor would take on that project. You have to recognise that a post online where someone claims that they work at an incarceration facility could, of course, be forged. But in the chat, someone said, well, all you need to do is check the IP address of this post to see if that person was in that vicinity at the time they made the claim that Epstein was transferred, and you would have at least some verification of its authenticity. Let me know what you think about that in the comments and chat. We'll have a look now. Can we, Isaac, at the post that we were sent? Can you put it on screen? You know, I see you've given me a laptop, but you know I'm vulnerable. Look at me. How am I going to do it? You be in charge. I don't mind handing over a bit of power for convenience. Isn't that the nature of modern power? We're going to bring you a brilliant story about the UK, where facial recognition technology has now reached a point of total immersion. Everyone's getting their face scanned. Millions of people every single day. We have a look at that in Russell Brand Unpacked. Here's a quick clip of Russell Brand Unpacked talking about the presumed war between the United Kingdom and Russia, the war that never was, the war that never will be, the war that's being used to legitimise further and further authoritarianism in the UK. If you are in the UK, let me know what it's like there at the moment. Oh, no audio on that? I'm panicking. We're preparing for war, says Keir Starmer, who also recently claimed extraordinarily that he's a hard bastard. What an odd thing for him to say.
I'm a hard enough find out who it was who said that.
Ooh, you're hard, showing off.
I'm handy!
Do you want some, hey? I'm handy! I'm handy!
One of the uses of war, rather cynical uses of war historically, is essentially about domestic policy, not about foreign policy. It can be quite handy.
I'm handy!
To have an external threat, because one of the obvious things about an external threat is it can tend to drive internal cohesion.
Britain's farmers are in revolt There's a mass uprising in British agriculture against the government because of policies that seem to have found their way into the UK from external agencies and bodies comparable to the EU, even though Britain aren't in the EU anymore. So whether it's farmers or urban populations or people at Glastonbury, there are a wide variety of diverse, indeed opposing opinions about Britain right now. Significantly too, Britain has no current popular party behind whom people can organise and mobilise. I would say mass civil disobedience and unrest is likely, particularly in these coming summer months, particularly if Keir Starmer attempts to mobilise the British towards war with Russia. Hey, so that stuff's all up on Rumble. You can watch those videos in full there. I think we put them up on YouTube and sometimes on X. Get over to Rumble and support us there and get Rumble Premium. You get additional content from me. Content from Mug Club, that's Crowder's Gig, and Glenn Greenwald, and many of the other great content creators available to you on Rumble. Here's Elon Musk responding to the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff. She will say she has nothing. Of course, the consequences of revealing anything, sorry for burping there, would be negative for her. The burp was me. That was not a quoting Elon Musk's post. Here's Epstein's former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, swearing he knows that documents are being suppressed to protect individuals. I also heard he was on it. So, I mean, this is so complicated.
This is not an opinion. This is a fact. I have seen, remember, I was accused falsely on the Epstein, and ultimately I was completely cleared. The woman admitted that she may have mistook me for somebody else and withdrew all of her lawsuits. And so from day one, from the day I was accused, I said I want every document out, because I knew every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases.
There you go. Hey, check this out. Trump got ratioed for the first time ever on Truth Social when posting about the Epstein files. He's an extremely popular president, particularly, of course, among you. Most of you are vocal, vociferous, and dedicated supporters of Donald Trump. I would say, of course, that he's the politician the age demanded, the president the time required, amidst all the sort of ineptitude and decrepitude of the previous administration. Someone that is robust, even while, of course, I recognise being a senior dude, was exactly what was needed. Someone that was schooled in social media more broadly, but was able to apply those techniques to social media. I mean, check out this moment. I've never seen anything quite like this. In the Club Football World Cup, Donald Trump gave, do you know this, like Chelsea, a rival team of West Ham United, my beloved West Ham, won the World Club World Cup against Paris Saint-Germain, that are owned by, just like I said that, are owned by a kind of, Qatari kind of group, so really Paris Saint-Germain are a nation really now in terms of their financial backing. Well, Trump gave the trophy to Chelsea and he stayed on stage with them. I mean, I love this about Trump. This guy does not do things normally or ordinarily. And I would say the challenge is, if you're someone that loathes Donald Trump, and I know there's a lot of people out there that do, these are all institutional and inherent systemic challenges that we're going to have to be dealt with at some point. And I would say through the presidency of Trump, they're highlighted much more than they were under someone like Biden or would have been under Kamala Harris, where they're continually and routinely obfuscated. Even when Trump does something as bold as when he said, like, are we still talking about Epstein? It kind of brings it to the forefront. Let's have a look at him. Oh, should we have a look at him being ratioed for the first time ever? That's this asset. Check it. Of course, Newsweek would cover that. The first time they've ever used the term ratio. I learned that from CEO of Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky, actually, when he went like, this is how you need to do your channel and run your channel a bit differently. You don't want to be getting and he's used for ratio. And I went, what does that mean, ratio? He goes, exactly. Because I weren't familiar with the lexicon of this place. And neither is a lot of contemporary and modern media. A lot of people you see talking about news stories these days are not aware of how much the environment they operate in is altered. That's why I really want you to watch what we're making about the UK and facial recognition technology, because institutions of power are deploying methods of control that, whilst extremely potent and powerful, have got to survive in the new social media mass communication environment. That's why the power has to be accompanied by the ability to censor and shut down communication. Because if you try to introduce facial recognition technology in an environment where people can openly communicate, they'll go, hey, while you're claiming to do this to protect us, you're obviously doing this to control us. Watch out for that excellent episode of Russell Brand Unpacked coming up this week. Remember, we make content in addition to the stuff we make offline. So here, online, President Donald Trump's weekend post defending AG Pam Bondi's handling of the Epstein files has triggered an unprecedented backlash, making the first time the Republican has been ratioed on his own social media platform. So this really is just them desperately grasping a bit of negative stuff about Trump. This, I guess, while you're still here, whether you're on YouTube or X or wherever you're watching us, get on over to Rumble, join Rumble Premium, support us there. If you're still on Locals, man, I love you guys. I really appreciate your ongoing support. Jude Syek and Purple Flower and Underdog, and all of you on Rumble as well, like To Avenge, I love you. Nice for Harry, I love it. I love all of you guys. You're all absolutely beautiful. You're welcome here. We're completely transparent here. I'm an Englishman living in your country, the United States of America. I believe that the biggest threat we face is global imperialism that's being advanced through new high technologies, exactly like facial recognition technology through mass surveillance. I believe that we have to watch out for national ID. I believe that centralized currencies are going to be introduced, but all of this technology could be used to liberate us and free us. I'm not in particular a conservative or Republican person. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. That's the only allegiance I have to him. Everything else is of mankind, as far as I can tell. Everything else is fallen and potentially flawed. Let me know what you think in the comments and chat. Let's finish off this thing about the list, the Epstein files, and then we'll move on to some really funny stuff of Donald Trump presenting this thing. Here's Trump's Truth Social post. Now, I know that means I'm about to do some reading, so I'm going to press this knowing that's what's coming up. And in a minute, I'm going to send you something that a friend of mine sent me on X, which talked about a person allegedly or claiming to work at the institution where Epstein was being held, who says Epstein was rushed out of there and that he's essentially not dead and that he's alive and that they used a fake and phony corpse, and there's photographs comparing corpses. Have you seen that stuff, guys? Let me know. Okay, so whoa, and it's even blurry. Okay. What's going on with my boys, and in some cases gals? They're all going after AG Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it all over a guy who never died, Jeffrey Epstein. For years it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to the files written by Obama, Crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration who conned the world with their Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, and the laptop from hell and more? I think that a lot of them people are going to be on there, and that's what we're sort of looking forward to, isn't it? I mean, that's what I was looking forward to, and I have to recognize I got skin in the game, because I want to see, files released where it goes, we're like, oh my God, I knew it. I knew those people are so corrupt. It will relieve me to feel it. I'll feel like, yes, got them. Look, I also recognise, and as Bill O'Reilly said, that there are probably people that had relationships with Epstein that were just using his private jet. I mean, I ask you this. If someone said to you, do you want to use a private jet for nothing? Is your answer yes or no? What do you say? I'm like, yes, I do. Have you ever been on a private jet? Have you got any idea how much better it is than being in an airport? It all goes away. Everything, the horror, the hell of airport just gone like that by money. I mean, you can forgive people for using free private jets, I think. Can you? Let me know in the comments and chat. What about, if you're being invited to parties? Hey, there's going to be loads of hot girls there. They're all adults, I assume, because we're not dirty, disgusting monsters. It's all consensual, isn't it, I'm assuming, because we're not maniac rapists. Yeah, of course. Let's go. So there's layers and levels to this kind of thing, presumably. But what we, the public, we, the people, have to be trusted with is absolute transparent truth. Then we, in the court of public opinion, which seems to be trustworthy when it comes to so many other matters, will determine through debate and analysis our own perspective and opinion. I think so much of Trump's ongoing popularity is built around the fact that he was transparent and open and candid and doesn't talk like a normal politician, because people were sick and tired of normal politicians, because we know what normal politicians are. They are slick, managed and manipulated. And now we're beginning to understand why they seem like that. It seems like many of them have been blackmailed and are controlled because they've got embarrassing and indeed illegal skeletons in their closet, and that Jeffrey Epstein was at the center of that, or maybe not. Maybe it goes much deeper, much wider, much more occultist, much more satanic, much more peculiar and weird. But Jeffrey Epstein seems to be an outlier in, oh, that's how it works. It's just like picking off one mosaic tile, and underneath you can see the deep archaeological truth of how the system operates. People that are in positions of power are not in power at all. They're either bound financially, logistically, legalistically, or perhaps by the most corrupt means imaginable. They have sinned, they have committed crime, and somewhere the means to blackmail them exists. That's why Assange's take is so important. Julian Assange, of course, who says the reason you're not getting access to these files is because the blackmail is still operating. And once the files are released, the opportunity for blackmail is gone. So, generally speaking, I think you're better off with President Trump than anyone that's going to merge out of the Democrat Party system, hands down. But my hope is that from this new form of populist politics, different party politics will emerge. New politicians, new movements focused primarily on decentralization. That's my belief. That's what I'm advocating for. Let me know what you think in the comments and the chat. Let's carry on. They created the Epstein files just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier. That's true. They did do that. And now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? If there was anything in there that could hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? Because they're in there also, I think, is presumed. I don't think that Donald Trump is a sex offender paedophile, do you? I think Donald Trump, when he was a billionaire playboy, was sleeping around a bunch, I would imagine. What do you think? Do you imagine that's why men get into positions of fame and high status, because of the high availability of sex? Let me know what you think in the comments and chat. Given up on the John F. Kennedy or Martin Luther King files, no matter how much success we've had, securing the border, deporting criminals, these are all things that, you know, MAGA voters are down with, right? These are all important issues. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments and chat. Fixing the economy, energy dominance, a safer world where Iran will not have nuclear weapons. It's never enough for some people. Isaac says that's the first time I've ever heard exasperation or exhaustion in the timbre of Trump. We're about to achieve more in 6 months than any other administration has achieved in over 100 years. We have so much more to do. We're saving our country, making America great again, which will continue to be our complete priority. The left is imploding. Kash Patel and the FBI must be focused on investigating voter fraud, political corruption, Act Blue, the rigged and stolen election of 2020, and arresting thugs and criminals instead of spending months after month looking at nothing but the same old radical left-inspired documents on Epstein. Let Pam Bondi do her job. She's great. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and they tried to do the same in 2024. That's what she's looking into as Attorney General, and much more. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now it is the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that no one cares about. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, obviously, what I would say is that people don't care about Jeffrey Epstein. They care about the synecdoche of Epstein and the Epstein files. What does he represent? What is he an aperture of? Well, it seems in this moment he appears to be the issue that Trump can't, with bombast, charisma, rhetoric or charm, roll back, because it points to something. I know Dan Bongino, and I know he's a really good man. I can tell that. I've also been around power in a variety of forms now, and what I have personally observed is when people move from campaigning and activism and being outside of power into power, they are dealing with a lot of obligations and challenges that are not clear or apparent in the prior phase. Now, there are some sort of dedicated activist opponent type mentality individuals and groups that don't want to be in power. And I think the left got characterized by that, and perhaps still is characterized by that. I mean the extreme social justice left. I'm not talking about neoliberalism. Neoliberalism and neoconservatism operate in a narrow strata that always maintains institutional power, and the differences between them are fundamentally, if you ask me, irrelevant. On the periphery of both of those movements, you've got national populism on one side and social justice on the other, and they might inform the main bodies that sometimes get into administration and sometimes get into power, but they themselves are connected to nodes that are always going to be peripheral. And on the left, they're just happy to campaign forever. They don't want real power. And what we're talking about with the Epstein files is the kind of compromises that might pertain to extremely powerful individuals that have been in control of global events and the trajectory of global power for decades. That's why we're talking about the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bushes. Those kind of names are the names claims people are interested in. I think people also are capable of discerning between hedonism and decadence, even though that does bring to the forefront moral questions, because our leaders should be behaving in a moral and ethical way that is, if not supreme, at least is a good example to everyone else. Let me know if you agree with that in the comments and chat. But we can also see the difference between ghastly, ghoulish criminality, coercion, trafficking, paedophilia, non-consensual activity at an institutional scale or even at the individual scale. These are clear crimes and they ought to be investigated, and if there's information pertaining to them, it should be released and revealed. Trump made his bones and his name by being the president and politician that was not afraid to say what was unsayable elsewhere, i.e. when it came to financial matters. I know about these tax loopholes because I used them, and so do Hillary Clinton's voters. And I guess that's the Trump people want to see around the Epstein files, and for some reason we are not seeing it. Do you believe that's because there are no files, there are no incriminating documents? And of course that leaves open questions like, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail? Is she just actually in jail for trafficking girls and children and women that didn't consent to what? Prince Andrew, who also, by the way, hasn't been convicted of anything? Or is there more to it? I would be in the latter camp. I'm guessing most of you are, but that's just why I think. Let me know what you think in the comments and the chat. If you're watching us anywhere other than Rumble, get over here to Rumble. Get Rumble Premium. If you're watching us on YouTube, we'll be leaving you in a few seconds. But before that, here's a message from one of our partners. What if your coffee didn't just wake you up, but actually awakened you to new realms of consciousness? That's what's being promised by 1775 Peaberry. Why are you drinking stinking, jaded, lukewarm, dirty, filthy grey coffee beans when you could be having vibrant, revolutionary coffee like this one? It's an elixir of pure innocence. It's a glorious and awakening drink. Pea berries are the outliers, the lone wolves, the beans that grow solo on the branch. No twins, no compromise, no hangers-on, no hemorrhoids. Just one dense, round, flavour-packed powerhouse that tastes like it's been preparing for this cup its